Hi there. It's been a while since I've posted anything. Kind of been keeping to myself, keeping quiet, staying in my lane, so to speak. I wanted to touch base with you today, and aside from my dog snoring in the background, I wanted to show you an actual physical miracle. I don't know how many videos you've seen about somebody receiving a miracle. I've received two since the last time I posted. And I've struggled with bringing this to you, bringing it to light, talking about it openly. But my spirit team and the uh, the girls of the tarot world have been adamant about me starting to express my teaching abilities. And I guess now is as good a time as any to maybe do a little bit of course correction for some of the darker spirited folks that have been hard at work trying to take me off my path, mess me up. Um, oh, I've heard it all. You wouldn't believe it. I've heard all the intricate details of what some of you have been attempting, and it has been, I gotta say, I've been binge watching the tarot world because when the stories are about you, it's hard to kind of take your eyes off. It's like I'm sitting there like, ooh, what did I do next? What's going on? Like, what did they do? What's going on? And you kind of get carried away with it a little bit. I'm guilty of that. So there's my confession for that. So I guess the thing to start with is kind of backtrack a little bit so that you have a little bit better understanding of the magnitude of what I'm about to talk to you about, right? So, I told you that I've experienced two miracles recently. Now, this comes under the heading, or as I need to explain this to you, is this is abundance. So, a lot of you that have been doing readings on me or have been um, coming to whatever realizations in your mind that you have about what I have, what I don't have, what gifts I'm receiving, what have you. And I've heard from the tarot world a thousand different ways. I've heard from my own intuition a thousand different ways, and then some about your expectations of you want that for yourself, right? You want my abundance, you want my abilities, you want my gifts, right? Let's be let's be just point blank honest about this. That's what this has all kind of been about. There's your confirmation. Puppy. They're kittens. Let it go. Kittens are probably out of milk. I just fed them. They're kittens. They never stop drinking milk. That's just the way it works. Anyway, so what I'm about to show you is my abundance. Okay? This is just one form and one example. So you can look at it however you want to look at it. If you don't want to look at it, that's fine. Switch this off. Go do something. Go do something smart. Do something for yourself. Work on some self care. Do some self healing. Stay in your lane. And at the end of the day, if you watch the rest of this video and you get it, right? You actually understand and you get it, which I don't think most of you have. You've all been, basically sitting here watching me um, through however many cameras you've got installed here, right? I would estimate I probably have my own satellites that are dedicated to me at this point. I got more people watching me than, well, no sense to go into it. But there's a lot. And don't think I don't know. So let's get to this, right? So, one of the things that I think a lot of folks don't really kind of grasp is that we're all put here to be tested. I'm here and I'm no really different than you are, and I don't mean to show you or demonstrate to you I'm better than you in any regard. Though I may be on a divine path and I speak with divinity openly, we communicate openly. It's just what I do. But I want to share that componentry with you so that you have a better understanding, because look, I came up the way you did. My parents told me things that I accepted, openly accepted. And I'm not here to tear down the walls of religion or any connections you may or may not have with God or what you consider God, right? But I do want to kind of go over mine a little bit, just a little bit. I'm not going to go into it big, but I feel at this point this is kind of like a large airplane that crosses the ocean, right? It's got electronic navigational systems that course correct the airplane constantly. So, since you've been brought up, how many times have you had course corrections because of information that's come to you that updated your flight plan? That's what we're going to talk about today a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay? So, like I said, you're here, I'm here, we were put here to kind of go through this test. Right? And how it's like Star Trek with the Kobayashi Maru. There's no right answer or wrong answer, but let's face it, some of the good answers might get you promoted. Some of the bad answers might get you demoted. And I think that's possibly part of the situation that's been ongoing, especially with some of you. So my intent of this video is to do a slight course correction if you are so inclined. If you're not, like I said, you don't have to pay attention to anything I say. You can see it however you wish to see it or not see it at all. At the end of the day, I'm trying to help you. I have no reason to help you other than I'm just a good guy. And to be honest, even though I've been watching this ongoing mayhem for quite many months now, it kind of comes to a point like, when there's dogs fighting in the front yard, at some point you got to get up and go outside and separate the dogs, or at least yell, shut the hell up, right? Anyway, so I have been showing you my guitar, my other guitar, my progress on the guitars, and funny part has been I think I've gotten 1 or 2 likes in the entire time that I've shown anything, which is kind of funny to me. So I think one of the first things I talked about was the fact that um, I had a I had a rough moment sitting in this exact spot with the dog on a dark night, just like it is tonight. And I didn't have the upper hand on personal powered devices to be able to put on headphones and Pandora and listen to some music that I wanted to listen to. And above all things, I wanted to hear some Alice in Chains. I wanted to hear some Metallica. I wanted to hear some rock and roll. And unfortunately, in the situation I was in, I couldn't do that. And so I kind of abruptly told God I was very upset about that. And I kind of had one of those matrix moments, right? Where, you know, okay, so for what you already know in this realm, give me any reason why you can't make that music yourself. And I was outraged by that answer because I have some real problems with my fingers, and I'll zoom in on these, right? Like that is a cut off finger. This is the remains of a cut off finger. And so we're clear on it. When this happened, I also damaged my pinky severely. It was on the underneath, it was a cut underneath. It went to the bone, but I don't think it actually cut the bone. It just kind of like splayed the meat out and it kind of fell away from the bone. I had a much more severe situation with this finger, right, which is the main finger, right? So the way it worked out is I had a dado blade that was set up 3/4 of an inch off the top of a table saw. And I was with no guards, right? Here you go. Error in judgment. But I was trying to make a piece of furniture, and the wood that I had, that I was working on, had a knot on the underneath of the wood that I didn't see and I didn't anticipate the reaction of the saw and the knot. And at the absolute perfect time, everything kind of exploded and the force kind of sucked my hand into the blade. And when it did, the rotation of the blade hit the end of this bone like it was like the perfect splitting axe, and it hit the bone and it cracked and fractured the bone all the way to the knuckle. And there's still a little bit, it's really, really hard to see, but there's still a scar from the meat underneath. And my entire hand was, from my understanding, completely destroyed. And the utility of this hand has been quite a project ever since. And when this first happened, I remember when we went to the hospital, and at some point, I know it took them a long time, and unfortunately, you can't go back and change things. But the nurse had come in to my room, and she says, "I hate to ask this, but the doctor wants to know, like, what happened to the rest of the fingers, right? Like, can we get the other end of this and sew it back on?" And I had to say, I'm sorry, man, but the strip down the center of my T-shirt that stops at my belly button, it's kind of like mulch. This is actually my finger, and there's an equal strip on the ceiling of my garage above the saw, and one underneath the saw. And she grabbed her mouth and ran out of the room, and I never saw her again. So I realized some of the things that I have to say about things being truthful can be quite painful and alarming. Just is what it is. So, like I said, I'm not trying to upset your apple carts or disgust you in any way, um, but I do want to give you the truth and the magnitude of what we're talking about here. Now, up until, and I mean up until, from the day I did this, which is now, I'm going to say probably 20 years now. Now, I've been playing this guitar for about a little over 2 years, right? Literally to the day I brought this guitar home, touching my own hair or my face, especially like it is right now where I've got whiskers on my chin. To be able to do this right now is a miracle in itself. Okay? The day I brought this guitar home, taking my hand and putting it through my hair, was the equivalent of taking a bunch of needles and syringes in a 5-gallon bucket and sticking your hand in it. Is how that felt to me. Like each hair was its own needle. For real. So we jump ahead in time to about, maybe add 2 months to that. So 2 months after I brought home my guitar, from a point where I couldn't even touch my own hair comfortably, I was in a man's house local here, and I was explaining. I was I was in a very bad mood when I was saying this, but I was talking about, um, my realm can't talk to your realm. What's the problem with all of this? And I knew the answer, but I needed to express that. And I said, because I'm accelerating at speeds I can't really comprehend, and I'm doing things that I can't. Um, I have a hard time putting to words. This is one of them. And though I may have thought quite a few times about how I was going to tell you this, I haven't made any notes. I'm not reading a teleprompter, and no, this is free, just going at it, right? So I remember vividly the conversation that I had with this gentleman. And the funny part was, and I haven't told this really to anybody, but as I was yelling at this man about other things, I was seeing in my mind a video clip of Kirk Hammett of Metallica. And they had done a slow motion film clip. I don't know, maybe it had to be less than a minute of time of him playing guitar. And the interesting part was they slowed it down to a point where you could see his fingers and how hitting each individual string, right? And to me, it looked like little sausages slamming the string. And I thought about it kind of when I saw it, and it hadn't occurred to me till that moment when I was having this somewhat of an argument, not argument, but um, I was reading the riot act to somebody. Is basically how it was kind of coming off. Didn't mean it that way, but that's kind of how it rolled. Sometimes universe uses me for some of the most outrageous things, and I guess I get favor from them because I am willing to be that person. I'm okay with looking awkward in public or looking awkward to other people to be truthful. And so if that comes off wrong to other people, I don't mean it mean, and I don't have a mean spirit about it. I don't think I got a mean spirit in my bones at all. Anyway, not to take this on too long, but it was interesting that as I was seeing that imagery in my mind of Kirk Hammett and him playing the guitar, I was also kind of reaffirming in myself, like, hey, I've got these things are not far from sausages. I got to be able to play like Kirk plays. And oh, by the way, God, if you know, if you can make this happen, I want to regrow my fingers so that I can play better. And that's kind of how that rolled. That's really all of the intent. That's all of the um, effort that I've put into what I'm about to show you. Okay. So, in everything I've been showing you on the guitar so far, has all basically been two or three, my two fingers with these two extended and off the strings, and I'm basically doing power chords, which you can do that just fine, and I can also solo very well with the one finger. So I've had to um, take all the lessons that they show you online on how to play guitar and modify all of that information so that it suits me and how I play chords. And um, the interesting part is um, most music, has a lot. Oh my God, it's kind of crazy if you really think about it. But what 90% of the music that you listen to is just a couple of chords, and I can play like 12. So knowing that and having that information, like I got this right, is the is the end of the result of, at the end of the day, this works. I can do this. But it's all been muscle memory and making this work for me. So let me give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about. So my first miracle that I got was this finger. And one night I was playing along, and I'm skipping around and I'm doing different things on the guitar, and I'm playing and I'm do 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 do, and all of a sudden this the interesting part was the girls had told me many times, you're about to receive abundance. You're about to receive abundance. And this is probably what a lot of you have been, watching, doing readings on me, going, "Oh my God, he's going to receive abundance. He's going to receive abundance. I want his gifts. I want what he's got. He's going to get." What you didn't know, and what I didn't know, is that, and they also told me it's going to happen right in front of you, and it's going to shock you. You are going to be shooketh. And I'm like, well, we'll see about that. But that's what happened. And when I started to play with the other finger, I was shooketh. I was shooketh to the point of I couldn't talk about it. And when I picked up Thomas that night, we came home, and we had our normal night, and I never brought it up until the next night on the way home. Oh, by the way, guess what happened to me? Because it was such a mind blower. I couldn't even articulate the words, right? And so overnight, I kind of realized, like, I got to relearn everything I've kind of done, or at least I thought that's what I would have to do. It didn't work out that way. But there's me rushing to judgment when I should have just kind of stayed in my lane, enjoy my gifts, and move forward, which is kind of what this is all about. And this is kind of what I'm wanting to tell you, so that you do what I'm doing, so that you may finally, at some point, maybe start receiving your own abundance, your own gifts. But you'll quickly understand through this situation that my abundance, my gifts from God, are mine. And unless you've cut your fingers off and you're asking God, hey, I need to regrow my fingers, which kind of is what's going on, my gifts can't be taken. And you can spend a fortune in resources and time and energies which have absolutely zero effect on me. And as a protected being, it's almost like you're the first kid on your block to go out and get a laser gun. And you figure you're going to come over and shoot me with your laser gun. But the thing you don't realize is that even though I'm wearing shabby clothes, they act as a mirror. And you shoot me with your laser gun, and it reflects back and shoots you. Or, even worse, it's a ricochet that hits maybe a family member of yours or someone that you do care about. If you're of that mindset and rolling with the thinking that, I can do what I want to do, and you're starting to think you can be all that, God don't like that. That don't work. The ancestors don't like that. The archangels don't like that. Spirit team don't like that. And here's the thing. And this is kind of the underlying reason I'm coming at you with this, right? Is that all of the stuff that you've been doing, the death spells, the all the different magic and dark crap you've been trying to do, the wow, everything from GPS trackers on the car to the surveillances, the mind games, the trickery, all the screwing around that you think you have the upper hand with. I'm here to tell you it's um, it's not working. You're having almost zero effect on me whatsoever. However, what is happening, and I kind of got to paint you a little picture on this. It's like you're at the graveyard and you're out there with a shovel in the rain and you're digging my hole, right? I'm going to bury Pete and you're digging a hole for Pete. And the thing you don't realize is for every scoop of dirt you pull up, right behind you, you're digging your hole with 10 scoops for every one that you're digging for me. And the part you don't seem to grasp is that, hey, at the same time that this hole's digging, man, one right behind me, and it's like right there. Like, if I slip in this rain, I'm going to fall in that hole. Yet, for whatever reason, you're not sharp enough, and I'm just trying to be respectful to you about this. But if you're not smart enough to get it, well, this is probably your last chance to be told you're about to fall in your own hole. Or you're digging your hole for your family. And see, here's the bigger, more important thing I need to explain to you. When you look at me, you see me how you choose to see me, or not at all, right? But the reality is, right next to me here is my huge friend Anubis. Everywhere I go, he's right with me. Over here is Osiris. And surrounding him, Isis, Horus, my boy Thoth, and the latest one to come on board that I'm thrilled to have with me is Amun Ra. The other thing that you don't probably realize is that the big guy, the real big guy, right over my head is Archangel Michael. And that big old sword that he's wielding, I'm hoping doesn't come down for you. And if you listen to me and you take what I'm about to tell you as factual instead of, oh, Pete's just putting out some bullshit tonight, maybe you'll avoid some trouble. Because here's the thing. Being me, I'm kind of all about love and light. Now, I come off, if you've done readings on me, I come out as the high priestess. Right? I come out as a feminine, the divine feminine. But I'm a male. So what that means is I've mastered both the masculine and the feminine and embody both. Okay? So, when you do something against me, I'll forgive you. Straight up, I'll forgive you. I'm a forgiving person. I'm a nice guy, like I said. But this team behind me, above me, God, they're not as forgiving as I am. They don't tend to let things go. And they do write it all out. They do capture all that is done. All of the stuff I don't see, they let me know. They allow me to find out those interesting details of some of those dark habits that have been done against me. So, my advice to you, in short, and I realize this is over 35 minutes at this point, I apologize, but you needed the context, you needed the understanding. My advice to you is very simply stay in your lane. When you get up in the morning, worry about what you're doing, right? Worry about your job. What interests you? Stop focusing on what I'm doing and how to take me down, and focus on how to build you up. And I mean that with all my heart. If you want to finally come to the realization that, wow, I've been screwing up, we all agree. And let me be more informative on this little key. Is like, we all come here with angels, right? Ancestors. If you've done nasty things to me, there's a very solid chance that your ancestors have jumped over to my team to help me, not you. So, in my opinion, and it's just an opinion, like I said, you take this information for what it's worth to you. I'm not trying to give you any finite answers. You have to reconcile this information as you will to yourself, right? So it's kind of like being in a football game or modern sports. And I'm not a good person for this, but it's probably one of the best ways I can say it to you. But it's like, if you're making contracts or doing work for the fella downstairs, right, and you continue to lose and you're continuing to get hurt on the field, maybe, and I'm just saying maybe, it's time to switch teams. Maybe it's time to repent. And the simple way to do this is just go outside, tell God, I repent my sins, beg for forgiveness. And regarding, what you've done or how you've done it, he may laugh at you. He may not, you may not get an answer at all because he don't hear you. Maybe your ancestors will hear you. Maybe you will slow down that karmatic wheel that you're currently pushing on not just yourself, but your entire family name, your children, and their generations. See, the harm that you're doing or intending to do, because like I said, at the same time that I know, right, like I know people are spending, some of you, small fortunes on taking me down. I'm sitting here coming up with new gifts. I can do something now that I couldn't do. And 2 weeks after the first finger came on, the other finger came on. That's my second one. So now I'm playing with all of my fingers that I never thought that was going to happen. Ever, 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 ever. And, you say, well, you know, it's just part of what would happen, with proper therapy and whatever. Like I said, I've lived with this nightmare for 20 years before I've seen a change. And had I not really kind of committed to what I wanted to commit to, which was me being authentic to me, right? Living my authentic life, which is all I'm suggesting, with respects, you do. There's no spell work involved. I haven't sat here and, I've kind of walked away from my crystals as for the most part. I have them around me. I love my crystals. I'm wearing them. I wear crystals all the time. But I don't do spell work of any kind. I don't imbibe, if you will, in magic. It's just a matter of just be a good person. And if you're watching TV recently, which I don't have, I got to see it for a few minutes the other night when we went out and enjoyed a pizza together. And I got to see the programming, which is why they call it programming. It was from one fear thing to the next. Like I said, it's about kind of the football game thing. It's like, how many times are you going to go out there without your helmet on into a scrimmage and get your ass kicked before you start to realize you're rooting for the wrong team, you're playing for the wrong team, and man, all of that might just go away if I switch up my game a bit. Start respecting your fellow man. Be that which you have been demanding of as far as change is concerned. Start within. You've heard more times than you know that all of the answers are within you. I'm here to confirm that. My answers were within me. And I'll be honest, the more energies you throw at me from the dark side, like I said, I've mastered both. So I've been taking all of those horrible energies that you've sent me. I can now play guitar better. Maybe it's time you take another look at reality from a different perspective. Maybe. Like I said, with respect. And I don't want to ruin anybody's paradigms and mess up your head. But it's kind of like being that super airplane that's out over the ocean and you're trying to make it to Hawaii and you realize, ooh, I'm over Russia by the time Pete told me to course correct. But at least Pete told me to course correct so I can get to Hawaii instead of land somewhere in northern Siberia. It's cold there. You probably won't like it as much as Hawaii if you wanted to go to Hawaii. So if your intent for your life is maybe better than what you've been getting, and you've been looking at other people, such as myself, like, I want what he's got, or I want to drive a better car, or I want a bigger house, or, you know, maybe that stuff all starts with you. Look, at the end of the day, like I said, because you don't affect me whatsoever, I really don't care, if you sink or swim. And if you walk outside of your house and you scream, I can't hear you from where I'm at, right? Maybe this information is just what you need to get back your course. Like I said, there was a lot of things that my parents told me that I kind of had to, huh, is that right? And over the years, I've kind of had to make some little course corrections in my life to reconcile bad data. And maybe some of those informational bits, if you will, were thrown at me to keep me down. And that's kind of been what all the girls have been telling me, the tarot world has been telling me, my intuition has been telling me since I've been a little kid. And had I been encouraged to listen to my intuition earlier, and I understood the componentry of how the world really works with all of that, I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in. I probably would have never cut my hand off, but it was through this that I was able to ascend the levels I've ascended. And whatever your understanding or concept of ascension is, maybe you will redefine that for you. So, like I said, it's kind of like being on the highway, right? You're on a 6-lane superhighway, and the speed limit is unlimited, right? And you're a messy driver that's all over the road. How far do you think you're going to get? Stay in your lane. Stop worrying about what I'm driving and worry about what you're driving and how you're driving, how to drive better. Be your own best person. I wish I'd have had somebody to help guide me and give me some of this information a lot earlier in my life. But it's like most of the things that I've had to teach Thomas. Um, these words came out of my mouth last week to him. There's no benefit in the easy road. That there's no, a lot of you are gamers, right? Because for whatever civilizational quirks and errors, right? So now you're a gamer. You like the games. So I'll put it to you in the simplest ways. What are the games that make you the happiest, right? They're beating the levels that are the hardest. The easy levels give you almost nothing. You don't get many resources from them. You don't get, man, I just beat that level. I found out when I was young that my biggest competitor was me. And yeah, there's always somebody that's bigger, stronger, faster, whatever. There's always somebody with a nicer car, bigger house, prettier wife, better dog, one that listens, what have you, right? You could go on and on and on to infinite. I think at the end of the day, you'll understand this very simply. Every second, every minute, every hour that you delay doing the right thing for me, your karmatic wheel is growing so far out of proportion, generationally speaking, like you're affecting not just your kids, but their kids and their kids. I could go on, but you get the point. If you've delayed making the right choice, maybe not with me, but somebody else that you're dealing with, how's that working out for you? I'm pretty sure that karma's pretty quick in coming back and biting you in your ass. And if I don't act right, and the girls have told me to get out here and start talking and start teaching, start telling my story, or they'll come and kick my ass. And I got to be honest, if you'd have told me that 5 years ago that I was going to amass a following that is the size it is, I'd have laughed at you. And that's kind of the thing. It's like you have to come to the realization of, okay, if you're doing something right, you're going to have haters. So I understand. I've got haters. Like I said, I'm sleeping fine at night. I'm good. But I'm just trying to do this so that, look, we're at a critical point in this world's, and I say world's, history. And the situational placement that we are at this moment is critical. And those people out there that are not people, that aren't from here, how do I put this to you simply? The thing you haven't realized when you've been watching your TV as long as you have is that you're watching a puppet show, right? And you're so close to the screen that you can't look up and see the strings. So you've never questioned, like, oh, well, who's pulling the strings, right? I'm here to tell you that just maybe, with respect, you believe what you want to believe, but um, hmm, if you think about it from a larger perspective, humanity, and I mean all of us, in all countries, we're all humans. And I mean humans. Um, in a business sense, right? We are what they call ripe for hostile takeover. So if we don't get our crap together, and soon, well, I think you can you might have enough vision of where that might go. So, like I said, I apologize for this being almost an hour's worth of time, but I also feel from a responsible point of divinity, somebody has to say something to you to make a difference. And it's time for all of us humans to start coming together instead of being pushed apart and being really good with, yeah, push us apart some more. Hostile takeover. Is that what you guys want? Is that what you're looking forward to? Do you think you win anywhere on that game grid? Do you? I'm not plugged in, but you get the point. Somebody who couldn't touch their own hair and couldn't even play up until, I don't know, it's probably been 2 months now that they started coming back to me. I couldn't touch my own hair. I couldn't touch my own face, with especially the back end of this finger, which I'm not touching the strings with that, so I'm not building up anything there, but it's completely normal and natural. See, all of the nerve endings that were at what would have been my fingertip way out here, they wrapped up and put up here. So I'm here to tell you, if you don't think this is a total miracle, that's cool. Believe what you want to believe. Remember those terms I said to you, hostile takeover, right? Or who do you want to root for at the game this weekend? Your time here is precious, in my opinion. Maybe it's time you start to use it for you. Your family needs you. All of your friends need you. I'm separated from the world here, so like I said, I don't really have a horse in your race at all. So I'm I'm simply doing this out of the goodness of my heart, and like I've said many times, that I love you. So um, I wish you well. I wish your journey smooth, solid, and I hope you do make it to Hawaii, if that's where you want to go. And if you want to go to Siberia, I hope you make that too. I hope you make it safely, and I hope you truly cherish everything you get, everything you have, everything you manifest for you. But the only way that happens is if you go within, repent, maybe start talking to your ancestors, and for once, be responsible. We've all got choices to make, people. Let's start to make good ones. God bless you all.